Hello and welcome to The Real World. Thank you so much for joining us here on this episode of The Real World Podcast, episode 30. We are going to be talking about all of our favorite Christmas movies, our top 5 favorites of all time. It is December now, so the season is upon us, and Bert and I wanted to break both of these down. How you doing, Bert?
Hey, Merry Christmas, Cam.
Merry Christmas to you. Thanks for joining us again. Be sure to leave a like, hit that subscribe button, hit the bell to get notifications of all our videos here at The Real World. And let's jump right in. All right, so we're going to jump in with some movie news now. This week, there was a big convention this week, actually down in, I believe it was Brazil. And this is where they kind of unveiled some new trailers, some posters, some actors came out and talked about some new projects coming up. So the first one that I wanted to talk about was Transformers Rise of the Beasts. This is the 7th installment of the Transformers franchise, which has been going on since 2007. These live action adaptations of these toys, which was also an animated series back in the 80s. And so this franchise continues to dominate the box office. And so the 7th one is coming out next year. It is a sequel, actually, to Bumblebee. So did you get to see Bumblebee, Bert?
Yeah, I saw that in the theater actually.
Oh, cool. Yeah, me too.
Yeah, I
Me
liked
too.
that. I liked it. Yeah, it was
I
good.
liked it a lot. I think it's actually
Yeah.
my favorite of all the Transformers movies.
Really? Yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
really like that one. I felt like it
Yeah.
just connected character wise better,
Sure.
had
Yeah.
more heart to
It's
it. It felt
simpler.
like,
Yeah, it
yeah, it
wasn't
was simpler. It was, back in the 80s, and
yeah. Yeah.
it was just had a cool vibe to it. So I really liked
hmm
that movie. And this one is a sequel to that. So that was
Okay.
kind of a soft reboot of the series, kind of had a new origin for how the Transformers came to Earth, and Bumblebee and
hmm
his whole backstory, and Optimus Prime. They were totally redesigned. They looked a lot more like the 80s series, and a lot of
Oh,
people responded well to that. So they're
yeah. Yeah.
continuing on from that movie. This one takes place in the year 1994,
Okay.
and it is
Interesting.
primarily set in Brooklyn, New York.
Hmm.
Um,
Okay.
so we've got, new robots. As the title suggests, it's taking a lot from the Beast Wars
Oh.
series, which was another animated series that came after the original. And so it is
Oh.
based in that kind of lore, if you
They had
will.
Transformers in Beast Wars?
Yes, they did. Yeah, Beast Wars. So it was
Oh.
called Transformers
Okay.
Beast Wars, and it was
Okay.
kind of like a
Okay.
sequel series to the original
Gotcha.
series.
I
And
didn't know
so it
that.
was,
Okay.
yeah, so it was all these Transformers that disguised themselves as animals instead of,
Okay.
cars or whatever.
We get a little bit
Um,
of that throughout the first what, 5 films.
yeah, there are a few. Yeah, there's a
Yeah.
Scorponok, the scorpion guy in the desert in
hmm
that original
Yeah.
movie. And so yeah, there
Right.
are a few
Right.
that are based on animals, but they've never been the
Yeah.
focus like they are here.
Okay. Yeah.
So yeah, we were getting there's three factions of the beasts. The
hmm
Maximals, which are like the good guys, kind of like the Autobots, the Predacons, and the Terrorcons. So there's
Hmm.
all these different new factions we're gonna learn about in this new movie. Some good, some bad. And so that should be fun to kind of explore that. The trailer, it had me. I mean, I really liked it. I thought there were a lot of great visuals, great visual effects. The Transformers movies are kind of known for their good visual effects all the way through. The story and characters and plot can kind of get a bit messy as we go through them, but the visuals have always, impressed. So, it definitely looked like there was more of that here. Towards the end of the trailer, we get hints of some pretty big battles that are going to take place between these Transformers. And so it does have that larger scale and scope than, say Bumblebee, which was, again, like we said, a lot smaller kind of in scale and scope.
Right.
We've got a good cast. Anthony Ramos. People might know him from Hamilton, the musical. He
Mm.
was an actor in that. Dominique Fishback, who's kind of an up and coming actress. She was in Netflix's movie Project Power, which I'm a pretty big
Mm.
fan of. So I'm curious to see more about her. Voice actors, we got John DiMaggio, who's been around the voice acting world for a very long time.
Mm.
Pete Davidson from SNL
Oh.
is going to be voicing one of the characters. Peter Dinklage also has been
Oh. Okay.
cast as a Transformer, as
Nice.
well as Michelle Yeoh
Uh huh.
and Ron Perlman as well.
Okay.
So
Sure.
pretty
Sure.
good voice cast. Of course, Peter Cullen is returning as Optimus Prime. He's
Okay.
been playing that role since the 80s, so
Yeah.
couldn't have it without him. But
Right.
yeah, it's pretty good. Looks good. Director is Stephen Caple Jr. He did Creed 2. That was kind of
Okay.
his. He did a small movie before that, but he did Creed 2, which was really well received. So yeah, I'm excited about it. What did you think about this one?
Yeah, and produced by Spielberg, right?
That's right. Yeah, actually, all the Transformers movies have been executive produced
Oh,
by Spielberg.
have they really? Okay.
Yeah, yeah, they have. Yeah, it
Yeah.
it was funny. I saw an interview with Michael Bay where he was talking about how, he was talking to Spielberg about, and he's going, "This is kind of like an homage to E.T., just with more action."
It could be. Yeah. 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 When this popped up in my feed, I thought it was a phony trailer actually,
Yeah,
and then I realized it was an official trailer, and I
yeah,
and I was surprised. It kind of came out of nowhere,
right.
and I like the all six of the films. I don't know that I've actually seen five. I should say. I don't know, and I
Five is
think
the
you said that
worst.
one's. Yeah, you said that was the worst.
It's
Yeah.
really bad. Yeah.
Yeah, and I've got a couple of them in 3D,
Oh, cool.
and I want to get all of them in 4K. That's
Yeah.
I've been kind of eyeing the pricing on that.
Right. Right.
But yeah, but anyway, yeah, the trailer looks really good. It's definitely another one that I want to see. When the first one came out, I thought it was going to be terrible,
Yeah.
and but I will say I really really liked it,
Yeah.
and what Michael Bay did with the effects, with the Transformers changing, was really pretty mind blowing. I mean,
Yeah.
what was that, like 2007 or something?
Yes.
And
2007. Yeah.
we had a lot of CGI by then, but it
Right.
really showed us something new, and something
Yes.
that seemed complex yet translated well for the, pleasing to the eye,
Right.
and just really really cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I've
Definitely.
enjoyed that throughout the series, the different
Hmm.
ways that the creatures or whatever they are transform,
Yep.
and the movies are pretty exciting. I'm a Shia LaBeouf fan. A
Yeah.
lot of
Me
people
too.
aren't,
Hmm.
but I enjoyed his roles in the
Sure.
series. But yeah, I definitely will be watching this one probably in the theater. What was the release date on this one? Do you know?
Yeah, this one's June 23rd, 2023.
Wow.
So it's not too
Okay.
far away, really.
Yeah, it's probably a theater one for me.
Yeah, I agree. These are definitely those kind of big spectacle movies that you go to the
Yeah.
theater for. So, yeah,
Right.
I'm excited. It's been a while since the last one. I think it was 2018 when Bumblebee came
Right.
out, and so it's been a few years. But yeah, I'm glad they took their time with it, and hopefully found a
Yeah.
compelling story. And so, yeah, that one should be fun coming out in June of next year.
Yeah. After Bumblebee came out, I kind of thought, well, that's probably it for Transformers. They've been really great. you know,
Right?
I for
Yeah.
some reason I kind of thought, well, that was probably the last one. Bumblebee
Yeah.
got his movie, and
Right.
they're probably moving on. But I had no idea
Sure.
this was in the works. So
Yeah, yeah. This supposedly is kicking off a whole new trilogy that they've got
okay,
planned. So
all right.
we'll have
I
to
bet
wait and see.
they probably make a ton of movie overseas or money overseas.
Oh
So
yeah,
yeah,
definitely. Yeah,
here
very a lot of
too, but I mean
international appeal.
overseas.
Right, right.
Yeah.
Hmm,
Mhm.
for sure. Yep. So that one looks exciting. Um, all right, moving on. I just wanted to mention this, that we got an official release date for The Mandalorian season 3, which
Wow.
Star Wars fans like me have been eagerly anticipating, and it will officially drop on Disney Plus March 1st. So
Okay.
don't have a long wait for that one at all, and that'll be the third season of that. We got a brief teaser trailer released a couple months back, and so yeah, very excited about seeing more of that character on screen.
Yeah.
All right. The next trailer we wanted to discuss was Indiana Jones. Indiana Jones, the fifth film in this long-running franchise, started back in 1981. And this is the one of the biggest characters Harrison Ford is known for. Very popular actor. He's played this character more than any other. And so we got an official title, and we got an official trailer, the first look at the movie. The title is Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. Very intriguing title. I'm not sure what that is. I even Googled it, and Google didn't really have any answers. So
Ah. Yeah.
I'm guessing it's something they've created for the movie, which is unique in that most Indiana Jones films have some type of biblical artifact or something based in history or
Mhm.
mythology in some way. And this one, yeah, I couldn't find a lot of info on it. So
It made me think of
um,
like a sundial.
that's what it seems. It seems like in the trailer we get a couple shots of what looks like some type of sundial or something
Ah,
like that. I
yeah.
just don't
Yeah.
know what exactly it's going to do.
Right.
And
Right.
there's a lot of speculation on that we'll get into in a second. But Look, I'm ecstatic about this. It could have been just Harrison Ford walking down a street and putting on a hat, and I would have been happy. But we got a lot out of this, actually, a lot of footage there. So,
Yeah, yeah.
I'll kind of break it down, but I just kind of want to get your initial thoughts on it. If you want to tell me what you think of this fifth film in this long running franchise.
I was really excited to see it.
Okay,
You
cool.
know, there's a lot of nostalgia factor here. I mean, you
Right.
see an Indiana Jones movie in this day and age, and you
Yeah.
think, wow, that's great. They don't make them like they used to. So this is,
Right.
this
It's
is really
true.
neat to see something that I feel like sort of harkens back to when I was young and that kind of thing.
Yes.
And
Right.
and it looked like it's going to be some great action comedy. I mean,
Hmm.
the trailer delivers.
Yep.
I mean, Harrison Ford's been playing this part for 41 years, 42 years,
Yeah.
something like that, right?
Right.
And I
Yep.
don't know, is there I mean, James Bond has gone on, I believe, a little bit longer, but it was always,
Sure.
several different people.
Right.
So to
Right.
have a character extend from basically when he was in his 20s, 30s all the way
Right.
up to now,
Yeah.
his entire life he's been playing this character, right?
Yeah. That's a good point. I don't know if any other character has been played by the same actor for that long.
For their entire
Um,
life, basically. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. 'Cause, I mean, obviously Robert Downey Jr. played Iron Man in like 9 movies, but that was only over the course of like 10
Yeah.
years. So,
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
yeah, I'm not sure. I'd have to look into that. That would be interesting to find out if he may
Right.
be the longest running character with the same actor.
Yeah, and amazing he didn't get typecast. He had such an iconic role in Star Wars and
Right.
Indiana Jones,
Yeah.
and several throughout several years, and still didn't
Yeah.
end up typecast, which is
That's true.
amazing, honestly.
Yeah, yeah, it shows his talent as an actor. We'll definitely have to do a top five Harrison Ford movies eventually.
Yeah,
Yeah, so I'll just break down the trailer a little bit. Again, there's so much here I could talk about it all day, but basically we get a first look at Indy, back in action. It looks like we're obviously going to be globetrotting again all around the world, several different locations, sort of a desert-looking location, and then there's a sequence where he's in New York City. There's a sequence where he's in kind of some kind of caverns, so it's going to be another globe-trotting adventure. The supporting cast looks great too. We've got an appearance here. It looks like it's probably just going to be a cameo, but John Rhys Davies coming back as Sala,
yeah,
who many know as
right.
Gimli from Lord of the Rings, and many other great characters he's played over his career. And so
Was he
uh,
only in the first one, or was he in
he
the
was
second
in
one?
Raiders and he's in Last Crusade.
Oh, okay,
So
okay,
yeah, so he's been in every other Indiana Jones movie.
interesting. Yeah,
Yeah, so he's coming back. We've got Antonio Banderas in there. I don't know if you caught him. He's very briefly glimpsed, sporting a
I
big
think I heard his
beard.
voice, or maybe I
Yeah,
saw him, but that sounds
yeah,
familiar. Yeah.
yeah. He's kind of just sitting there. We don't really get much from him, but
Okay.
so he's going to be in there. Of course, Mads Mikkelsen is the villain, one of these Nazis, who's coming back. We've got Phoebe Waller-Bridge, who seems like she's going on the adventure with Indy. She's an up-and-coming actress. I'm wondering if Karen Allen's going to come back as Marion. We saw her in Crystal Skull. That ended
Right.
with the big wedding, so I don't know if she'll at least, I would assume, have some type of cameo or small role in the movie, but
Yeah,
we'll
that'd
have
be
to wait and
nice.
see. So yeah, we get him still as a professor teaching college, teaching archaeology. We get several scenes flashing back to a younger Indy.
Yeah.
This has been talked about a lot. This, de-aging technology, which has become popular recently. We've seen it
Right.
in a
It
lot of the
looked good.
Marvel movies. I thought it looked great too. I
Yeah.
really was kind of blown away when I saw them. They take the bag off his head, and it's, you know, Harrison
Yeah.
Ford
Yeah.
looking like he looks in the original trilogy, which is really amazing. So looks like there's going to be a big action sequence with a younger Indiana Jones. I don't know if that'll open the movie. I don't know if that's some type of flashback in the middle of the movie. Some have speculated the Dial of Destiny is some type of time travel device. And
Mm.
so he's actually going back into his younger body in some sequence here. I don't know.
I doubt that. I doubt that.
I don't know. Seems like a stretch, but hey, they've already done Aliens, so why
I
not time
know. I
travel,
know.
But I don't know. We'll have to wait and see.
I hope not. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, that might be a bit of a stretch.
Yeah.
So we get several action sequences. One, it looks like the flashback scene. He's on a train.
Mhm.
Looks like someone's chasing down an airplane on a motorcycle. There's this big castle that explodes. There's that chase through the desert, some type of car chase. He's on horseback running through New York City in one sequence. So, of course, it's going to be packed full of action, just like all the other ones are. And so that'll be tons of fun. The treasure hunting sequences, he's in some kind of type of cave, and there's all these booby traps going off and things like that.
Of
So
course.
it looks like
Yeah.
just all the classic indie stuff that you'd expect.
Mhm.
that we'd all want from this type of movie. And
Right.
but it looks like it is a fresh kind of perspective of an older Indiana Jones, kind of paired with this younger character, and Nazis are back too. So
Mhm.
it's all in there, and I think the sequence at the end, with the whip, he pulls his whip out and kind
Yeah.
of tells these people to get back, and then they all pull
Right.
guns on. It's just this classic Indiana Jones scene that just put a smile on my face. So yeah, I'm
Yeah.
super
Yeah.
excited. This
Yeah.
will be the second one I've seen in theaters. Well, I take that back. I actually got to see Raiders 30th anniversary IMAX screening.
Right.
That's been over 10 years ago now, but so this will technically be the third one I've seen in theaters. But yeah, very excited. My favorite film series, my favorite film character, favorite actor. Just doesn't have my favorite director. Spielberg decided not to come back, so we'll have to see how James Mangold did. I think he's going to pull it off. He's another
Yeah.
one of my favorite directors. So
Right.
very excited about that. Comes out June 30th,
Okay.
2023.
June's gonna be busy.
Indeed, indeed, it will be. Oh, there was one more I forgot to mention to you, Bert. I didn't send it to you because I know you haven't seen the other movies in the franchise,
Mm.
but they did drop the first look at Guardians of the Galaxy Volume
Mm.
3
Okay.
from James Gunn.
How's that
This
look?
It looks great. I mean,
Yeah.
it looks like the typical Guardians, kind of silliness, but
Mhm.
there's a lot of drama in there too, that I
Yeah.
was not expecting, and I think it's because this is his last one. He said
Mm.
this will be the last film featuring this iteration of the Guardians. There could be a new team in the future,
Right.
but for Star Lord and Rocket and Groot and Drax and Gamora, this is kind of their last film, their last outing. So it looks like it's going to get pretty emotional, for those of us who are kind of connected to these characters. I vividly remember seeing the original in theaters, and
Yeah.
have watched them, of course, through Infinity War and Endgame, and so yeah, and that recent holiday special that we talked about, which
Mhm.
was a lot of fun. So yeah, it looks good. That one comes out May 5th, 2023.
Not having seen the two films, I was amazed how well they were treated. Not well they were treated, but how interested I was in their characters in Infinity War and Endgame,
Yeah.
because it does go from pretty silly at times to really, really serious.
Right.
I mean, what Star Lord has to go through, even just
Right.
confronting, um, I can never remember his name.
Thanos.
Yeah, Thanos. Thank you.
Yeah.
And just some really, deep emotion,
Yep.
very well acted. So it gets
Mhm.
pretty deep. So
Yep.
I guess I mean that is probably I assume this third one is after the events of Endgame.
That is correct. Yeah, it's picking
Yeah,
up
yeah,
after Endgame. We see them briefly in
yeah.
Thor: Love and Thunder,
Mhm.
and then of course the holiday special, which developed the characters even further. So, yeah, I mean, really,
Yeah.
I guess you could just jump right into three since you've seen their
Well,
journey, but
I'm gonna go back and watch them.
you
I'm gonna
should, you
for
should.
sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you'll get more out of it if you watch the first
Yeah.
two movies, of course. But yeah, the way I agree, the way they were built throughout those other movies that they were featured in, was really handled very well. And that's because James Gunn has it's kind of protective over the characters, obviously, and so
Mhm.
he was heavily
Yeah.
involved with those films, and even the scenes he, I think, wrote a lot of their dialogue. So
Oh, okay.
there was a lot of continuity there, and so
Gotcha. Okay.
yeah, yeah. So that'll be good. That's going to be the, I think, second MCU movie out next year after Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantumania, which is coming in February. That one will drop in May. And so,
Okay.
yeah, yeah, exciting stuff. More MCU on the
Nice.
way.
Yeah.
All right. So we wanted to talk a little bit about some of our favorite Christmas specials. And before we jump into our movies, we don't usually talk so much about TV or anything, but there were a few that I wanted to mention that you can stream right now. One of them is actually it's coming up, that looks interesting, that you sent me, Bert. It's a trailer for Murderville, which is a series I have not checked out yet, but I've heard is funny.
Yeah.
And it is a show. There's an episode coming up called "Who Killed Santa," and so it looks really funny. It's got Will Arnett, Maya Rudolph, and Jason Bateman. I guess it's entirely improvised. Is that right?
It might be. I didn't look into it that much, but you can tell. I mean, some of the characters are cracking up during it.
Right.
And so yeah, sometimes that works well and sometimes not. So
Right. Right.
we'll see. I just know that the little preview looked pretty funny. Jason Bateman is basically about my favorite or second favorite actor. So
Sure.
I have a lot of interest in it.
Yeah, it does look really funny. I wasn't even aware of the show. My brother knew
Me
about
either.
it.
Ah,
But yeah, I have not seen an episode, but I'll definitely tune into this one. It drops on Netflix December 15th, so coming up soon. All right, I've got a few others I wanted to discuss. Of course, starting with Rankin and Bass, all their classic stop motion animated Christmas specials,
yeah,
Rudolph.
yeah.
My personal favorite being The Year Without a Santa Claus. I think that one is really good. A lot of fun. And so, yeah, those are ones that we turn on every year. Again, those are fun to watch. The whole family can watch them. They're just
Right.
classics. They've been around for so long that
Yeah.
it almost doesn't feel like Christmas without them at this point. But yeah, those are fun. I'm assuming you've seen all those.
Oh yes, when I was little, those were some of the most popular ones. We didn't have all the
Sure.
movies like we do now, so
Right, exactly.
yeah.
Yeah, so those are fun. I like there's a few specific episodes of TV I wanted to look at as well. One of them is from what I think is probably the funniest show ever, Seinfeld. It is an episode called The Strike, which is where Kramer goes on strike, and then the kind of secondary, the B plot is George's family starts celebrating Festivus.
Oh yeah, that's a great
It's
episode. Yeah,
it
that's a
is.
funny one.
It's really funny. And all of
Yeah.
Seinfeld right now is streaming on Netflix. So go check that one out. It is season 9, episode 10, if you want a good funny Seinfeld episode for the holidays.
Yeah, that one's hit pop culture quite a bit. There's all kinds of Festivus items you can buy
Right.
and
Yes, you can
games and all
buy
kinds of stuff. Yeah.
Festivus t-shirts and sweaters and all kinds of
Yeah.
stuff. So yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah, that is a good
Um,
one.
some that I grew up, some animated stuff I grew up with. I'm a huge DC fan, so if you're a fan of Batman, Superman to Justice League, you can check out a couple episodes streaming on HBO Max. One of them is called Christmas with the Joker. That one's a
Hmm.
lot of fun. That's from Batman the Animated Series, season 1, episode 38. And then for Justice League, if you want to get the rest of the superheroes involved, check out Comfort and Joy. This is a one-off episode they did for Christmas. That is season 2, episode 23. So those are really fun to watch if you have HBO Max. Again,
Hmm.
kind of the whole family can watch both of those, and you'll get a kick out of it.
Nice.
More recent things that dropped. We already mentioned the Guardians of the Galaxy holiday special, which I think is
Mhm.
great. Check it out now on Disney Plus. You can also watch all 6 episodes of the Hawkeye series, which all takes place during Christmas as well, in
Oh,
New
does
York
it?
City. Yeah, it
Yeah.
does. Yeah, and
Okay.
it all ties in really well. It's very family oriented. He's got his kids with him there in the first episode in New York City. They're checking out all the sites, and
Okay.
then he kind of gets caught up in this big adventure. So
Oh,
yeah, that's
okay.
a fun one. That's still my favorite of all the Marvel shows they've done on Disney Plus.
Yeah.
It was funny. It had great action sequences. I'm a huge fan of Jeremy Renner, and Haley Steinfeld, who's in it as well, and they do a great job. And the way it tied
Nice.
into the MCU was cool, but it really stood on its own as its own story too. So definitely check out Hawkeye if you haven't had a chance.
Yeah.
Two more I'll mention. The last two that we watch every year as a family. One of them is Mickey's Christmas Carol,
Hmm.
which I think is one of the best versions of the Charles Dickens story. It's really well
Oh,
done.
okay.
It's done in a very short amount of time. I want to say it's only 30 or 40 minutes long, and they get it all in there really well. The whole cast, it's really well animated. The voice acting's good, and so that one's of course on Disney Plus. And then only on Apple TV Plus, which I think they let you stream it for free though, even if you're not a subscriber,
Hmm.
during the holidays at least, is a Charlie Brown Christmas,
Oh, sure.
which
Yeah.
is one of my favorites ever. It's so well done. Really like the whole Peanuts gang, and they do a great job with that classic special that's all about the true meaning of Christmas. So really well done. And so yeah, those are just some specials I thought you could check out. Again, most of them are streaming right now. Before we jump into our top 10, there were a couple of new movies that dropped recently that I wanted to give my brief thoughts on. One of them is a sequel to a classic Christmas movie that many families watch every year, A Christmas Story. A Christmas Story released in 1983. I did not grow up watching it. My
Me
wife and
neither.
her family did. And so when we got married, they found out I hadn't seen this, and they, threw their arms up in the air in disgust. And so I had to watch it as soon as possible. But No, it was a lot of fun. I really liked it. I don't think it's a great movie. I think it's kind of more just a series of scenes that happen. It's like because it's basically just a family going to buy them their Christmas tree, and like funny stuff
Uh,
happens during it, but
is
it
it a
just
TV movie?
no, the original is a theatrically released
Is
film.
it? Okay.
Yep,
Okay.
yep,
Yeah.
it is. It is. Yeah, and so I I don't mind watching it. It's just not one of my favorites, not my
Gotcha.
go-to. Maybe if I
Yeah.
had seen it when
Yeah.
I was younger, I would have probably liked
Right.
it more. But it does have some great moments. It has some classic moments that are very quotable, and
Yeah.
some certain fun scenes that are really, really cool. But so I wasn't excited going into the sequel. I just thought they're just probably trying to cash in on nostalgia again, and it'll be another one of these kind of just, like you said, made for TV, kind of just made for streaming now, as we say,
Yeah. Yeah.
movies is what it looked like. But I was pleasantly surprised, honestly.
Oh,
This was really heartfelt in a way that exceeded the original in every way.
wow.
It really it was funny. It had great characters. The returning cast do a great job. Peter Billingsley specifically, who played Ralphie in the original,
Hmm.
he just delivers a great performance in
Hmm.
this film. And he helped write it too. And he's been actually a
Oh,
producer in Hollywood for a long time. He hasn't done a lot of acting, but he's been
interesting.
producing a lot of things behind the scenes. He has a cameo in Iron Man, and I think
Oh,
he might have been a co-producer on Iron Man as well.
okay.
I know he's worked with Jon Favreau on a couple of projects too.
Oh,
So yeah, he's just really good in front of the camera and behind the camera. It's just kind of a wholesome, traditional family-oriented film, very easy to watch. It pays homage to the original in certain ways that I thought
mhm.
were not overdone or anything, but
Yeah.
made sense and worked. And you really don't need to see the original. I mean, they allude to it several times, and they actually show scenes from the original several times
Oh,
throughout the
really?
movie. But
Gotcha.
you don't really need to see it because they do that.
Yeah.
They really give you all the information up front that you
Right.
need to know. And so,
Okay, good.
yeah, very, very pleasantly surprised with it.
Hmm.
It's a short run time, easy to watch. Just throw it on, and my wife and I just both were really surprised by how good it
Hmm.
was, and
Nice.
how kind of emotional it got, especially towards the end. Was really, really well done. So, yeah, it's a. I think the original, like I said, it's kind of feels more segmented. Like they're going to get their Christmas tree, you're going to the store, they're going to, it's kind of felt like more episodic in a way.
Ah,
Whereas this one felt like one cohesive, focused story
yeah.
that I thought worked a lot better. So, yeah, if you haven't checked it out, it's right now on HBO Max. You can stream it, and definitely would be worth your time, I think.
Is it called A Christmas Story 2?
It's called A Christmas Story Christmas because I guess they did make a direct to DVD movie
Oh,
called Christmas Story 2 a few
gotcha.
years ago that no one that was involved in the original, I think, was involved with it. It
Yeah.
was more
Yeah.
of a cash grab, kind of just playing on the name
Ah,
and
yeah.
doing that kind of thing. But no, this is a sequel that picks up, 30 however many years it's been since the original. And so yeah, but a lot of fun. A lot of fun.
Nice. Good.
All right, the other movie we wanted to talk about that was released on Apple TV Plus was Spirited. Spirited is a sort of modern spin on the classic Charles Dickens tale, Christmas Carol. And so it kind of seeks to modernize it and kind of expand on the mythology, I guess, of that story in an interesting way. And I think, this movie I didn't like nearly as much as A Christmas Story Christmas. I think at its core it does have a cool concept, kind of a cool idea behind it that's interesting. I feel like the execution again, it's just not there. Whoever was directing and writing, I don't feel like they had a clear understanding and a clear kind of story that they wanted to tell. It, of course, features Ryan Reynolds, one of the biggest actors alive right now. It feels like anything he does, everyone watches it. Hugely popular, but I feel like again he's kind of playing the same character he always plays, which is Deadpool. So, he's kind of just doing that shtick again. Will Ferrell, I feel like he was okay in this role. I felt like he was playing a character that I hadn't really seen him play before. It was a unique type of role for him. Really, the supporting cast I think is who stands out. Specifically, Octavia Spencer, who's I think Oscar nominated actress. She's wonderful in everything I've seen her in, and she's good here. A lot of the supporting cast who I wasn't as familiar with, I really enjoyed their performances. But our leads are just kind of doing the same thing they're typically doing. So that was kind of unfortunate for me. It's a musical, and I think there's even a character that says, "Wait, what's going on? This is a musical? Oh man!" And they kind of shrug their shoulders at it. And I don't mind musicals. I'm a fan of musicals actually, but here I just felt like it was kind of out of place, and it kind of didn't fit in. It was kind of it was also just overdone. I mean, this movie, first of all, it's 2 hours and 10 minutes long, which is way too long for any Christmas movie. It's a song like it feels like every 10 minutes they break into some kind of new song, and you're kind of going, whoa. But yeah, it was just a little too much, a little overdone with some of the humor and some of the songs and the choreography, and just it felt like too much. It felt like they were trying to do too much with it. Ultimately, as the movie went on, I did come to care about several of the characters. And so I felt like that on that level, it did deliver. It had kind of this emotional hook that did draw me in. But it was just too messy to really make me fully invest as I think I could have if they had kind of just reworked it a little bit.
Yeah, tighten it up maybe a little bit too.
Exactly. That's kind of my feelings on it. You said you didn't finish this one. Were you
Well,
out of
I
it
want to. I
immediately?
want to. I just
Oh, do
ran out
you?
of
Okay.
time.
Okay.
I got 25, 30 minutes into it, and I didn't like it that much.
Yeah.
I was just more thinking, I hope this gets better.
Right.
So I get kind of some of the things you're talking about.
Yeah.
I'm not a big fan of musicals, as you know.
Sure. Right.
But I don't mind them sometimes,
Yeah.
and the whole thing of like oh, this is a musical and that kind of thing, like those jokes. I feel like those jokes were done better in Enchanted,
Oh, yes. Good
you know
point.
what I mean?
Yep.
Like
Yep.
where they're sort of not thrilled about the fact that someone's going to break into song. Like I
Right.
feel that's much funnier in Enchanted.
It is. It
And
is. Yep.
so yeah, I really wasn't feeling it, but I'm gonna finish it.
Okay. Cool.
So yeah, hopefully it'll get a little better.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like it did. I felt like by the end, I felt like, that was a good, entertaining movie that I didn't hate it. I
Okay.
felt like a lot of it could have been better.
Yeah.
So I ended up at 3 stars is what I
Ah,
gave it. As
okay.
opposed to Christmas Story Christmas, which I gave 4 stars.
Okay.
This one just barely made the 3 star mark just because of, again, a couple of character things they do
Yeah.
that I really, really liked.
Okay.
So yeah, that's our review of Spirited. Check it out now on Apple TV Plus. All right, so now we're ready, almost ready, to jump into our top 5 favorite Christmas movies of all time. We wanted to talk a little bit about how we came about creating this list, and mention some honorable mentions as well. So, how I went about doing this is, for Christmas movies, there's so many different types of Christmas movies out there. And, some movies are debatable whether or not they are a Christmas movie. I wanted to kind of avoid those. I wanted to go with movies that are, very clearly all about the Christmas holiday, the season of giving, and that whole kind of thing. So there's a few things. I really just gathered a list of every Christmas movie I've seen,
Mhm.
and kind of just went to which ones are my favorites, which ones do I watch every year. So
Yeah.
rewatchability is a big factor, obviously. I wanted, of course, a variety. I always like having a variety of, I don't just all want comedies. I don't just all want dramas. So I wanted to have a good mix of kind of each genre represented. Um, and so I wanted some new ones, some old ones. And so I just kind of whittled it down to, okay, what are my favorites? And then in that my favorites, how much variety can I get out of that? So That's kind of what I was looking at. What kind of rules did you kind of put on yourself for this list?
Yeah, I went with does the film sort of center around Christmas activities and customs, not just,
Right.
there is some Christmas stuff in it, and it was
Sure.
sort of arbitrary or irrelevant to the actual plot.
Right.
A big one for me, I thought, okay, does this film actually go on my shelf for the Christmas genre? Because I've
Sure.
got 10 or 15, and all five of these are specifically Christmas movies, so that kind of boots Die Hard and
Right.
probably a few others.
Sure.
I also decided no four season films, so like no When Harry Met Sally or Notting Hill or some that
Right.
touch
Sure.
on Christmas a little bit.
Yep.
For the most part, I might violate these rules a tiny bit in my top
Sure.
five, but
Sure. Yeah, me
and
too.
then yeah, and then it's a bonus if it's a fit for the whole family. But I might have maybe only one or two that I think are sort of wide open for even little kids. That's just
Right.
the way it goes. So
Sure.
yeah.
Yep. Yep. Same here. Cool. All right. Well, those are good criteria to have. Let's go through some honorable mentions. You want to mention a couple up front?
Yeah, you bet. The Santa Claus with Tim Allen from '94, I think it is.
Yep. Yep.
I mean, that's just it's just a great. I mean, it almost made my top five. I've got a couple
Yeah.
others that are similar, so I had to choose.
Sure. Right.
But and it's just terribly funny.
Yeah.
And it was it felt very fresh at the time. The way Tim Allen plays it, personally, I
Yeah.
think it's his best role.
Hmm.
It does get a bit sort of schmaltzy, but it is a Christmas movie, So,
Sure. To be
but
expected.
I think it's one of the funniest ones.
Yeah.
On my between my honorable mentions and top five.
I agree. It's
Yeah,
probably one of the smartest ideas too. The whole concept is just great.
yeah, right,
So
right.
unique, and yeah, I agree. I
Mhm.
agree. It's one of Alan's best roles. So yeah, that was another one of my honorable mentions too.
Yeah, some quotable lines in that one
Yep.
too. And then next, I'll throw out Home Alone 1 and 2.
Okay.
Again, I probably could have put one of these in my top five. I enjoy both of them.
Okay.
It's really kind of a 1-2 punch of hilariousness. I mean, they're both kind of the same movie, obviously.
Right.
But one's Home Alone, one's Home in New York or whatever.
Right.
But I like them both, and just a lot of laughs throughout, especially if you like broad humor,
Yeah.
and most of that works, and it's just fun, to
Yeah.
see
I
the
agree
two
that.
bad guys get beaten up.
Yes, definitely. Yeah, the slapstick is great. It works so well. The fact that it's Joe Pesci
Yeah.
makes it even better. The guy from Goodfellas. So yeah, that
Yes.
one
Yeah.
was another one I wanted to mention. I'm not as big a fan of the second one because just for what you said, it's
Mm,
the same movie just in a different setting.
right.
I feel like
Right.
it's a little lazy, but it still has its fun moments to it for sure. But yeah, that
Right.
first one, it's just a classic. Macaulay
Yeah.
Culkin's so great, and yeah, so I'm glad you mentioned that one. That one's in my honorable mentions as well.
Yeah, Catherine O'Hara is funny in that too, and she makes an
Yes.
appearance in one of my top five. So, or
Oh,
I'm sorry,
interesting. Okay.
she in? We'll see.
Okay.
Maybe she does.
Okay.
Another one is Deck the Halls, and
Oh
this
yeah.
is yeah, with Danny DeVito and Matthew
Right.
Broderick, and they
Hmm.
play these feuding neighbors at Christmas time. It's not a perfect movie. I laughed
Yeah.
several times throughout.
Sure.
They're kind of trying to one up each other the whole
Hmm.
movie, and there's just yeah, I mean, it's not a 5-star film. I think it's
Sure.
maybe a 3.5, but I
Right.
definitely watch it about every year, and I get a lot of laughs every time I watch it.
Yeah, I think I've only seen that one once, but
Ah,
I'd like to check it out again because it's been a while.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Of
I'll throw out one more here, and that is the Polar Express. Um,
course.
part part creepy, part magical.
Yeah.
Uh, Tom Hanks in multiple roles. We've talked about this one before.
Yes. It's
Zemeckis
amazing.
sort of testing the limits of 3D,
Right.
and it's just a good unique Santa film.
Yep.
And it's great in 3D. I saw it in the theater at least
Mm,
twice in 3D,
wow.
and possibly could go in my top five. And it is a little different than
Right.
some of them, so I thought about putting it in there. But
Hmm.
anyway, it is a pretty good one that I've seen a few times.
Yeah, our family likes that one a lot. I've watched that one ever since it came out. It was one of my little brother's favorites, so we've watched
Mhm.
that many times, and I like all the songs in it.
Yeah,
I like
yeah,
their version of the North Pole is really unique, and
yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah, just a lot of fun, lot of good stuff in there. So
Right.
yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that one too.
You want to throw out a few?
Yeah, I'll throw out a few here. I've got several. First, I wanted to start with, I'll just run through these kind of quick, kind of like we mentioned, they're kind of Christmas setting, but not really
Ah,
Christmas.
sure, sure.
One of them is Shazam, the DC
Oh,
movie, which
that's
is,
true. Yeah,
set during
yeah,
Christmas. And it does have that family element, to it.
yeah, yeah.
Um, The other ones are Iron Man 3, which a lot of people forget is set during Christmas. It's a Shane Black movie, and actually all of Shane Black's movies, even if you just wrote them, they're all set during Christmas. I guess he's a huge fan of the holiday. I don't know why, but
Yeah, that's funny.
so yeah, Iron Man 3. Another one, the one he wrote, which we watch every year, is Lethal Weapon, which of
Oh yeah, I
course,
like that whole series.
yeah,
Yeah,
Richard
that's
Donner
good.
directed that. Probably
Yeah,
my favorite buddy cop series ever. They're great.
yeah, they are
Um,
great.
and then of course Die Hard, which is
Yeah.
become a classic. We uh, we watch that one every year as well. Favorite Bruce Willis role, favorite John McTiernan movie, just the perfect action film, everything in there, and it very much to me is a Christmas movie. I mean, you really take the Christmas elements out of it, and it's just not the same movie. I mean, Christmas
Yeah,
music is playing the whole time. It's
right.
that kind of family oriented story too at the heart of it. So um, yeah, Die Hard is definitely a Christmas movie. Settling the
Best
debate right now.
best Christmas villain ever because
Ooh,
I mean he's such a
definitely.
good, I mean one of the best action movie villains ever, I think.
Absolutely.
So
Yeah.
scary. Yeah.
Yeah. Alan Rickman as Hans Gruber is
Hmm.
easily top 10 movie villains of all time.
Yeah, yeah.
Another one I'll mention is the Tim Burton classic Batman Returns,
Oh
which
boy.
we've talked about before. I'm a huge fan of this movie.
Awesome.
It's so weird and creepy and bizarre, but yeah, it is
Yeah.
set during
Yeah.
Christmas. And so it has less Christmas elements to it, but
Yeah.
it's one I watch every year as well. So
Gotcha.
that one I like. One I watched recently, I think last year for the first time, Ernest Saves Christmas.
Oh, I've heard
Um,
of this. Yeah, I haven't seen it.
it's pretty funny. It's pretty funny.
Oh
I hadn't
yeah.
seen any of his other movies. I think this is the
Yeah.
third one, but it doesn't
Okay.
really matter because they're all kind of just their own thing. So, but I had a lot of fun with it. Very silly, but it was
Okay.
fun. Another Michael Keaton one, speaking of Batman Returns, is Jack Frost,
Oh, that's a
which
good one. Yeah, that is a good one. I
I
saw that in
like that
theater
one.
actually.
Yeah. Oh, did you? Okay, cool. Yeah, I like that one a lot. Really good. Gets pretty heavy. Some
Yeah,
of the story
exactly.
elements
Yeah,
there,
that's
but
true.
it's very good. One of my wife's favorites is How the Grinch Stole Christmas with Jim Carrey
Mm.
in that
I never
classic
saw that.
role. Oh, really? Oh, it's a
Yeah.
Ron Howard film, so you got to check
Is
it
it
out.
really? Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is. Yeah, it's really great production design. And do you like Jim Carrey?
Oh yeah. Yeah. Very
He's
much.
he's
Yeah.
incredible in that role. I mean, under all
Hmm.
the makeup and everything, I mean, it's just a great performance. So
Really, I'll have to check that out then.
you
Yeah.
definitely should. Yeah, it's really good. The Family Man with Nicolas Cage is
Yes.
another one we
That's one of
watch.
my honorable mentions
Oh,
too.
is it really?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Nick Cage does a great job. Taya Leone,
Yeah. That one's
really,
kind of
really
heavy.
good. It is. It
Yeah.
is
I
definitely.
just bought that one just 2 days
Oh,
ago on Blu-ray.
oh, cool, great.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've got it right. I think it's down there. Yeah, it's a good one. It's a good one. Definitely, we
Yeah.
watch that one every year as well. Getting into some fantasy ones is the Nutcracker and the Four Realms. This came out just a couple years ago. It's a Disney film,
Oh.
and it has some spectacular visuals. This, if you can find this in 3D, I'm sure it would be. I haven't seen it in 3D, but I'm sure it would be amazing in
Huh.
3D. Great visuals, great visual effects.
Okay.
This incredible kind of fantasy world that they build out in that movie is just really, really cool. And it's
Hmm.
a really well told story. Great performances all around. Helen Mirren's in it.
Oh yeah.
Morgan Freeman is in it as well.
Hmm.
So definitely worth checking out. If you have Disney Plus, you can watch it now on their streaming service. Another kind of fantastical one, very close to making it, was Elf. We watch this every year, so that's one of my favorites. Favreau and Farrell, they do a great job in that one. A recent one, animated on Netflix, is called Klaus. This is a really good
Oh, I've
one you
heard of
can
this.
watch.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can watch with the whole family. J.K. Simmons voices
Oh,
the titular character. Jason Schwartzman is in it
okay.
as well. It's really good. Just a great
Hmm.
story. Really unique
Okay.
animation style.
That's what I heard. Yeah.
Yeah, I really like that one. It's on Netflix right now, so check that one
Okay.
out for sure. And then another one that's kind of like I didn't go with it for the reason you were mentioning. It's kind of like Christmas is an element of it, but it's not
Mhm.
like the focus. Is Narnia, the first Narnia movie,
Oh, sure. Yeah. Yeah.
which even have Father Christmas coming in and giving them gifts and stuff. But again, that's not kind of the main thrust of the story, which is why I
Yeah.
ended up putting that in honorable mentions. So
That is a good movie
um,
though. Yeah.
yeah,
All
yeah, it's
three actually.
they are. Yeah, I really
Mhm.
like that whole series. Just got a couple more, some classics. White Christmas, which is
Hmm.
a great, if you're into musicals, it's got Bing
I think I've seen
Crosby.
that one. Yeah.
Great one. Really like that one as well. And an even older classic, Miracle on 34th Street, which I think is one of the best of all time as well. All black and white from back in the 40s. So, and I think they remade it in the 90s as well, but I haven't seen that version yet. Oh, one more. I can't forget. It's the reason we celebrate Christmas, the Nativity Story. It is really well done, very biblically accurate portrayal of Mary and Joseph and the
Hmm.
birth of Jesus. And it's got some great actors in it. Oscar Isaac is actually in there as Joseph,
Oh,
and some other really good actors and actresses throughout that film. Really good, just on every level. Well directed, well
nice.
shot. And so if you haven't seen the Nativity Story, it came out back in 2006. Highly recommend that one as well.
Okay. Yeah, I've got about four more I'm going to throw out.
Sure.
One of them's the remake of Miracle on 34th Street.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, Richard Attenborough. If I don't, you haven't seen
That's
it,
right.
you said.
I have not seen it. Yeah.
He is just so delightful here.
Okay.
Mara Wilson plays this little girl that interacts with him, and she's great. She's in Matilda and Mrs.
Oh,
Doubtfire,
right.
that little girl.
Yes. Sure.
Yeah,
Sure.
and Simple Wish,
Yeah.
one of the cutest kid actors ever. But
Yeah.
I mean, Richard Attenborough is just as cute as Santa. I mean, I just love
Yeah.
him. He's like the perfect Santa. And I haven't
Yeah.
seen the original, but
Okay.
if you get a chance, I think you'd like
Yeah.
it. It's not the greatest
Okay.
Christmas movie ever
Yeah.
or anything, but it's definitely one I've seen multiple times.
Okay.
It's a good
Great.
one at holiday time.
Cool.
Another really good one is While You Were Sleeping, and that's
Hmm.
sort of a dramedy at
Yeah.
Christmas time with Sandra Bullock. You've seen that one?
I have not seen it. I've heard about it though.
Oh,
Yeah. I want
okay,
to watch it.
yeah,
Yeah. I think it's on Disney
yeah.
Plus.
Is it really? I
Yeah.
definitely recommend it. I've probably
Okay.
seen that one 10 times over
Oh,
the
really?
years.
Okay. Great.
It's just this about this woman who doesn't have a family.
Uh,
It's sort of one of these, like, a woman doesn't have a family, and then she sort of gets in, like, not involved, but at Christmas time she meets this family, and kind of, I don't want to give away too much,
sure. Sure.
but there's some romance and a
Okay.
fair bit of comedy.
Okay.
It's definitely worth watching. Yeah.
Cool. Cool. I'll add that to the list.
Yeah, and then a couple others I wanted to mention. This is another one, someone that doesn't have a family and ends up finding one for Christmas time, and that's Surviving Christmas. Have you heard of this one with Ben Affleck and James Gandolfini?
No, I've not.
Oh, you haven't?
No.
It was way back before, I think, right when The Sopranos was starting.
Oh, okay.
But it's Ben Affleck plays this guy. He's alone on Christmas. His girlfriend broke up with him. He's got no family, so he decides to rent a family. And James Gandolfini is the dad, and he's not real happy about it. But the money's the money. Like Ben
Right.
Affleck's character, he has a lot of money, so
Sure. Sure.
they take him in because of the money, and it's got some pretty good laughs. It's definitely not for
Okay.
kids.
Yeah. Yeah.
This one for sure.
Right. Right.
And then speaking of that, the last one I have on my list of honorable mentions is The Ref. And I don't know if you've heard of The Ref. It stars Dennis Leary and Kevin
Mm.
Spacey. And
Okay.
Dennis Leary plays he plays a con. He's a burglar. And
Okay.
it's I think it's on Christmas Eve. He's breaking into houses, and he ends up breaking into a house where Kevin Spacey and his wife, I think they're in the house. It's been a few years since I've seen it, but I've seen it several times. But it's Kevin Spacey's character and his wife. They're a married couple that bicker constantly.
Right.
And Dennis Leary, it drives him crazy because he ends up spending way too much time. He has to sort of hunker down with this couple, ties them up and all kinds of stuff. It's and the words go a mile a minute because Dennis Leary, that's just sort of how he is.
Sure. Sure.
Kevin Spacey's really funny and
Yeah.
biting in this movie.
Right.
It's a really funny movie. Again, not for kids. I'm pretty sure that one is rated R.
Sure.
But it's one I've seen multiple times too.
Okay, great. I'll have to put that on the list as well. Great ones. Yeah, a couple I haven't heard of, so that's cool. All right. Well, I think we're ready to jump in to our top 5 favorite Christmas movies of all time. Do you want to kick us off, or do you want me to start us?
Sure, I can.
Yeah. Great, go right ahead.
My number 5 is The Holiday, with Cameron Diaz and Kate Winslet.
Yeah.
This is probably the least Christmassy of the 5. I mean, it's definitely set at Christmas time and that kind of thing. Right. It doesn't necessarily involve a lot of Christmas activities. It's more of a it's basically a drama that has a little bit of comedy. And you have seen this then?
Yes, I have. Yeah, it's good.
Yes. So it's two
Mhm.
ladies that essentially have a bad breakup. One's in LA and one's in England, and then
Right.
they sort of connect on, I guess, what would be Verbo or something like it back 15
Right.
years ago. And
Yeah.
they decide to swap houses. They each get on a
Hmm.
plane. And yeah. And
Yeah.
then Cameron Diaz is a film trailer editor in LA. And it's funny because the movie uses these sort of fake trailers in her
Yeah.
mind. That's how she hears
Right.
like a summary of what's going on currently. And she
Yes.
hates it because they sort of call out all the bad stuff in her life.
Right.
There's like her imagination is kind of funny.
Right.
And then Kate Winslet, she's not in a good place. She's dating a married man, so then she
Mm,
wants to leave that. That's why she comes to America. And
right.
so Jack Black plays the person that Kate Winslet meets, and he's a film score writer actually. And
Hmm.
I guess not ironically, the film music is really good in this movie.
Yep.
The score is, and he's at his most charming here. Jude Law comes in, when Cameron Diaz's character gets to England, he comes in and charms Cameron Diaz. I tell you, don't let that guy near my wife
No.
because he's a charmer. He's a charmer, that one. At
Right.
least he was back in '05 or whenever this came out.
Right.
And then in smaller roles are John Krasinski, Rufus Sewell, and Ed Burns. And it's this is, like I said, mostly a drama. There aren't like a lot of big comedy setups. That's why I would call it more of a drama. It's just
Mm,
the comedy comes out of the dialogue and that kind of thing.
right.
And what the film really does is, especially with the Kate Winslet and Jack Black characters, you want to see them together. I mean, that's what the movie
Right.
sort of does.
Sure.
You're kind of
Sure.
cheering for them to be together. I mean,
Yeah.
should Kate Winslet be with Jack Black? Probably not, but he's awfully, charming here and
Right.
funny, and so you just really kind of pull for that.
Yeah.
And there's some good drama with the Cameron Diaz character part as well.
Sure.
But yeah, it's just overall, it's a little bit long. It's a little over 2 hours, but I
Hmm.
like it. I've seen it a few times. Directed by Nancy Myers,
Yep.
and interestingly, who did What Women Want is a terrific comedy that
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
like.
Yeah. Right.
Um, but what she does here is a lot of the scenes go on for 8 or 10 minutes long, and that's a bit different than most
Mm,
comedies you'd get.
yeah.
I guess especially these days, I would say.
Right.
But that's kind of nice, and you can sort of settle into a scene.
Yeah.
And a lot of movies want to chop, 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 and fly you over
Hmm.
the place, and sometimes that's good. But sometimes
Sure.
it's just nice to have a sort of a quality drama with some comedy where you just get to know the characters and you don't have to jump all over the place.
Yes.
So it's a
Yes.
bit unique in that respect. So that's
Right.
how it ends up number 5 on my list.
That's great. Yeah, that's a good pick. Yeah, that one, I think I've only seen it once, but
Mm,
really enjoyed it. Yeah, really solid. All the actors involved are really talented. I don't think Jack Black gets enough credit for how good an actor he is, and this is a perfect showcase of it.
right, right.
Yeah, he does a great job, and yeah, everyone involved there is really, really at the top of their game. So yeah, that's a solid pick. Solid pick. I really enjoy that movie. All right, we're gonna move on now to my number five, my most unconventional pick, one that most people probably haven't heard of. It's called Anna and the Apocalypse.
Oh, yeah,
This,
I think I've seen this.
oh, have you? Cool, great.
Yeah.
So yeah, this is a how to describe it? A high school teen romance Christmas zombie musical. Is how I summed it up. It's kind of this genre mashup, this crazy combination of all this stuff. And each kind of element is slowly revealed. You initially kind of just think it's kind of a high school teen comedy, maybe, and then it kind of reveals that it has these kind of musical elements, and then it reveals that there's zombies involved, and so it kind of just gets crazier and crazier as it goes. But it's a lot of fun. This movie, it just kind of came out of nowhere for me. It came out. It was premiered at a festival, Fantastic Fest, back in September of 2017, and
Mm,
eventually went wide a year later in
mm.
2018. So it's fairly new. Directed by unknown director John McPhail. He directed the film. It was based on a short film called Zombie Musical by a guy named Ryan McHenry.
Okay.
And it was kind of inspired by the popularity of High School Musical and all these kind of teen
Oh, okay.
musicals that kind of took off in the early 2000s. And he started the short film won all kinds of awards, and so he eventually got to
Mm,
the place where he could make it into a feature film, and he
gotcha.
started developing it with another writer named Alan McDonald. but unfortunately he developed cancer, and Ryan McHenry, who created the idea for it, ended up passing away before the movie was
Oh,
released.
oh
And
wow.
so everyone else involved that he kind of had gathered, he basically hired all these different people, helped cast the movie and all this stuff, and they kind of finished it for him, basically. And
Really?
so there's a lot
Wow.
of passion involved. I think you can just
I bet.
tell on screen from the actors are really giving it their all. It's a bunch of unknown actors no one's ever heard of. Anna is played by uh, actress named Ella Hunt, who does a great job, and the whole cast is just really really solid. And I think it having an unknown cast like that makes it a lot easier to relate to certain characters. I think if it's all movie stars, it
Hmm.
sometimes can be a little more difficult to put yourself in their place. Like
Yeah,
when
you
you
got to
watch the
find that
holiday,
place where you can if you
yeah,
watch that. Yeah.
right, yeah. If you watch the holiday, it's kind of hard to relate to a guy like Jude Law sometimes. So, um, you know,
Every time I look in
it's
the mirror, are you kidding?
right there. You go. Yeah, some people
Right.
it's easier than others, but yeah. So I really like that element of it. It's just character. They're just the characters basically. They're not actors. They're
Mhm.
just are these characters. So
Right.
that's
Right.
an element of it I really like. It's really well shot, really well edited. It's just about 98 minutes long. So it's a pretty easy watch. Great music by Roddy Hart and Tommy Riley. They wrote all the songs in it. They did all the score for it, and really like all the music. I've listened to the soundtrack number of times.
Hmm.
So it's one of these. Doesn't take itself seriously. It's kind of very comedic, but it definitely has dramatic elements too. And I think
Hmm.
finding that balance is always something I'm looking for in a movie, and this one definitely does that in spades. Lots of catchy songs, lots of big over the top zombie violence as well. So you kind of get something for
Hmm.
everyone here. That's why my wife enjoys watching it too, because she loves musicals and kind of the high school musical of it all. And I like the kind of zombie bashing. So something for everybody. It's really fun. Like I said, fun musical numbers. Lots of heart in it. Again, not just in the story itself, but what's happening behind the scenes. I think, and that comes through. So this is the newest one on the list, and it's one that has quickly been added to our Christmas movie marathon every December. So again, not one for the kids. Lots of blood and gore, but it is a lot of fun too. So yeah, definitely check it out. I think it's streaming right now on Tubi and several other places. It's called Anna and the Apocalypse.
Yeah, and I don't think that's the one I saw. I'm not sure which one I was thinking
Oh,
of, but that
okay.
does not sound at all familiar. I'll have to check that
Okay.
out.
Gotcha. Yeah, check it out. It's fun. All right. Well, that was my number five. Bert, what is your number four?
Mine is a movie called Last Christmas that came out a couple years ago,
Oh, I still haven't
and
seen
with
this. I've heard about it
Amelia
though.
Clark. Okay, yeah, yeah.
Okay.
And in fact, it's directed by Paul Feig. He directs some of the funniest movies, like he did The Heat, which is
Oh
maybe the funniest
yeah.
movie I've
Right.
seen.
Right. Yes.
And he's directed some episodes of The Office. And anyway,
Okay.
he's got a pretty good resume.
Yeah.
And this is kind of a heartwarming drama about a young woman who's she's just kind of trying to find her way in life, and then she meets a guy, and he kind of plays hard to get quite a
Mm,
bit.
mm,
And she's kind of a mess. But this guy, almost like a therapist, tries to kind of help set her straight a little bit. But there's a lot more involved than what she originally bargained for, and that's all I'll say. Amelia Clark, she's great, and she
yeah.
is so just alive and on fire in this
Mm,
movie. So full of life.
yeah.
I mean, you can't help but just love this character that she plays.
Yeah.
She just really draws you in,
That's
and
cool.
there's quite a bit of comedy throughout. The sort of love interest character is played by Henry Golding, and
Mm,
I haven't seen him in a lot, but it's kind of nice to see that new face, where it's not always
sure.
like Brad Pitt and someone else, you know what I mean?
Right.
And the music in this is there are some holiday classics, but it also features several George Michael songs, including the song Last Christmas.
Sure.
So I like that. I like quite a few of his songs, and so I
Mm,
like sort of bringing that into it as well for nostalgia reasons.
right.
The sets in this, she actually works at a Christmas store
Oh,
during Christmas time, and so the
okay.
sets are super Christmassy, as you can
Yeah.
imagine. And so
Right.
the set design is terrific. And there's a twist ending which I will not talk about.
Okay.
It may be obvious, but I never try to look for those things. I
I don't
never ever
either.
want to try to really.
Yeah, I
Some
can
people are
never
always like,
guess. Even if I
Yeah.
try, I can't.
Well, some people are always like, I'll watch a movie with them and they'll be like, "Oh, I bet you he's the killer," and I'll be
Right.
like,
What? Him?
"Well, yeah, maybe, but I'm not really thinking about that. I'm just
Right.
enjoying the movie that's in front of me." So
Right.
I always just like take the movie for what it is.
Yeah.
But definitely check this one out if you can. I saw it in the theater. I've seen it a couple times since on
Okay.
video, and it's yeah, it's become one of my favorites of all time. Especially being more recent, it's it's probably the best recent Christmas movie I've seen.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Interesting. Yeah, I'll definitely check it out. Isn't it? It's on Netflix, you said, right? I think it
Where did I see?
is.
I
I
can't.
thought it
I lose
was.
track. I lose
Okay.
track. Yeah.
I'll look it up. I think it was on Netflix, but yeah, yeah, definitely be watching that one this year too. That's great. All right, moving on to my number four. It is my childhood is summed up in this film, I feel like, in a way. It is released 1996, and it is called Jingle All the Way.
Oh yeah, this is a good one. I've seen this. Yeah,
Have you?
it's a good one.
This
Yeah.
one's so much fun. Arnold
Yeah.
Schwarzenegger
Mhm.
plays a dad who has to go out and get his son a highly prized toy for Christmas, the most
Right.
popular toy of the season that he's, of course,
Yeah.
waited until Christmas Eve to go get. And
Right.
it's just so much fun. There's so much silly stuff here. I didn't realize it's actually based on, inspired by, I should say, the Cabbage Patch Riots of
Oh,
1983,
okay.
which I didn't know were a thing.
I mean, I
Um,
know that those were in high demand in the 80s, but I guess I
83
didn't know
apparently,
there were riots. I was pretty young.
yeah, 83 apparently there were riots because people couldn't
Wow.
get their hands on these toys. So it's inspired by that. You have all kinds of, crazy stuff going on, him trying to get this toy, traveling to all these stores and getting
Yeah.
involved with all kinds of shady characters and stuff. And he's kind of pitted against Sinbad, the
Yeah.
comedian who's in this, and he does a great job as well. He's hilarious. Rita
Mhm.
Wilson is in this,
Oh,
who's married to Tom Hanks.
right. Right.
We get Phil Hartman, the late Phil
Oh
Hartman,
yeah.
who I
Yeah,
really
he's great.
enjoy.
He was so amazing.
Yeah, he was great. Jim Belushi shows up in this one as well.
Oh.
And then the young Jake Lloyd, who Star Wars
Oh,
fans know
really?
as the young Anakin Skywalker. He's the
He must
son
have been
of.
really young in this one then.
Yeah, this was a few years before that. Yeah, so he
Yeah.
was only probably, I don't know, 10, 11, 12,
Is
somewhere
he the
around there.
main kid in
He
the
is. Yes, he's the
Oh,
son of Arnold
okay.
and Rita Wilson's character.
Okay.
So yeah, he's the main kid. Does a great job, great
Yeah.
performance, great actor. I think this is probably what got him cast in Star Wars, because it is kind of his biggest role up into that point. So yeah, he does a really good job. And it's just one of these, very relatable movies, I feel like that, I think
Yeah,
many
every year
parents
we're
have kind of been there trying to
yeah,
find that toy that
big
your kid wants.
chase every
Right.
year. Yep.
Exactly. It's been made easier with, online
Yeah.
shopping and that kind of thing.
Definitely.
Yeah,
Definitely.
this is pre-internet. So it's
Yeah.
all him traveling to all these stores and doing all this crazy stuff. It's got really some pretty fun action sequences, I guess you could call them action sequences, him kind of running around stores, knocking
Right.
over shelves and all kinds of crazy
Yeah.
stuff. It's got, plenty of great comedy, some good jokes. It's kind of it kind of has that other layer of where it's a bit of a satire on materialism and how kind
Mm,
of crazy people
makes
go for
sense.
these items, so it
Right.
has that element to it. It has the kind of more sentimental aspects as well, where it's kind of about this absentee father who kind of
Mm,
doesn't keep his promises, and
yeah.
it's kind of that whole lesson is learned in the end.
Right.
And so yeah, it's just a lot of fun. It has great moments towards the end where um uh, there's this big parade as where the whole climax of the film happens, and Arnold finds himself dressed up as this character that his
Oh
kid has
yeah, that's right.
wanted. And
Yeah. Yeah.
so there's a lot of fun stuff that happens there at the end. It's sort of Arnold Schwarzenegger's only superhero role, if you
Yeah.
can count it. So
Interesting.
yeah,
Interesting.
Turbo
Yeah.
Man is the character that he ends up playing at the end of the movie. But it's a lot of fun. The Turbo Man action figure is based on this show that the kid watches. You see at the beginning of the movie. It starts off with this sequence where it's he's watching this show, and it reminds me a lot of Power Rangers. It's sort of
Oh,
Power
okay.
Rangers mixed
Gotcha.
with like Iron Man a
Ah,
little bit. It's sort of
gotcha.
this amalgamation of all these
Yeah.
things I grew up on watching and
Yeah.
enjoying. So yeah, has a
Right.
lot of lot of nostalgia for me. I really like
Okay,
it.
gotcha.
It's just fun. The whole family can
Yeah,
watch it, and
right.
yeah, really, really enjoy this one. My dad
Okay.
didn't end up. He actually got me a Turbo Man for Christmas. I think the year after this came
They
out.
actually
So
sold them? I didn't
he
realize that.
actually sold them. Yeah, yeah, they did. They did. I still
Okay,
have it somewhere in a box, and so yeah, I'm sure it's worth something. I don't know, but
that's great.
yeah. So this one is I'm a big fan of Jingle All the Way, even though a lot of people think it's maybe not the best Christmas movie. I like it a lot. It's fun.
I thought it was good. I didn't think it was great. It's
Sure.
been probably 15 years since I've seen it though, but I've seen
Okay.
it a couple times. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
it's got some funny parts. Yeah,
Sure. Great. Alrighty, that's my number four. Bert, what's your number three?
yeah. So number three, I've got Serendipity.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
2001, I think it was.
Yep, I think so.
And that is two people played by John Cusack and Kate Beckinsale kind of have a fateful meeting in a department store just before Christmas. Have you seen this? Did you say?
I have, yes. I like
You
it.
have? Yeah, yeah,
Yep.
yeah. And they're both spoken for at the time, but they make a very strong connection. And so they essentially spend years and years after that night, kind of haunted by
hmm
sort of the memory of that night, and sort of in some ways kind of looking for ways back to each other. But they don't have any way to contact each other, so they're
Right.
depending on fate.
Yes.
By the end of the movie, it kind of turns into a race against time, as one of them is potentially going to get married to somebody completely different, and
Mm,
then fate kind of starts coming through for him a little bit. Um, this is a really funny movie, and maybe
yeah.
not for the reasons that you might think I would say. Cusack. I mean, I think this is one of his best, if not his best.
Right.
And what works so well for me is he and Jeremy Piven. The two of those
Oh, sure.
guys
Yeah.
are so funny,
Yep.
and they're so locked into each other.
Uh,
That I can only assume that they're probably friends, away from the movie,
sure. That's what it
because
seems
the
like.
way
Yeah.
they, yeah, the way they
Yeah.
play off each other is just
hmm
sort of uncanny, and
hmm
it's so funny. It just works really well, and I mean, Kate Beckinsale is really good too.
mm,
But yeah, it's Piven and Cusack. I mean, their dialogue just flows like water, and
right.
there's little choices they make with certain lines and that kind of thing are just
Yeah.
so funny to me. And then there's some great parts by Molly Shannon, Eugene Levy,
Mm,
the guy that plays Kate Beckinsale's boyfriend or fiance. His name is John Corbett. He plays this Lars guy that has kind of this. He plays this instrument, and it's like this. I don't know what kind of music it is. Some kind of uh, uh if funny,
yeah.
but what was the word I'm trying to think of? Uh, not of this country, I guess you could say.
Right. Right. Foreign
Type of,
instrument.
yeah, kind of like that kind of thing, and it's sort
Yeah.
of meant to be silly, and it is
Right.
really kind
Right.
of funny. So he's pretty funny in that role too. But yeah, this is one that I just I love because of the performances, and it's so unique in their performances, and the it's pretty much a romantic comedy, and the romance part of it is good too.
Right.
But it's one I've come back to a lot because I love the sort of the Christmassy sets, and there's a lot of snow in this movie. I mean, it's
Right.
coming down.
Sure.
I assume it's a snow machine, but maybe not, because there's times where I'm like, there's so much snow that if it was a machine, you would think they would dial it back.
Right.
At the beginning, and especially at the end, there's an end scene on a roller skating rink in New
Mm,
York City.
right.
But anyway, just a fun movie. I laughed throughout it, and it's one I just hope people will see if they haven't, because I think they'll find that it's just a really great Christmas movie.
Right. Yeah, I agree. It is really good. I've only seen it, I think, once, but yeah, I'd like to rewatch it because I do remember enjoying it, enjoying the performances, like you're saying, and yeah, just the whole story and the way it plays out is really good. So yeah, that's another solid pick. Now we're gonna move on to my number three, which is the classic Christmas Vacation. This
Ah,
is one of my favorites.
I'm glad you
Made
brought
in,
this one up. I'll hold my
yeah,
comments, but I'm glad you brought
okay,
it up.
sure. Yeah, 1989. This one was released. Jeremiah S. Chechik directed it. Originally
Hmm.
was set to be directed by Chris Columbus, who
Oh, that
did,
makes sense.
Home
Home Alone,
Alone.
and yeah,
And he had many clashes with Chevy Chase. And
really
yeah,
interesting. Okay.
Yeah, Chevy is supposedly very difficult to work with. He's one of these
I've
guys
heard
like
that. Yeah.
Bill Murray and a few others out there that
Yep.
are notoriously difficult to wrangle on set. So um, they ended up parting ways, and this other director was brought in. But it's based on
Interesting.
a short story by John Hughes. John Hughes, of course, who wrote and directed many movies in the 80s, and including the original Vacation, which is also based on a short story of his. This is the only other sort of vacation short story
Yeah.
that he wrote.
Hmm.
The other films in the franchise are not based on any of his other
Right.
works, but yeah, he wrote it. He's just a really clever writer, just knows how to write dialogue so well. And
Yeah. Ferris Bueller. I
um,
mean, there's so many that he's written that are good.
exactly, Ferris
And
Bueller.
Michigan State graduate, I gotta
Oh,
say. So
really? Okay, there you
yeah,
go. There
yeah.
you go. Very nice. Well,
Mhm.
yeah, he just does a great job with the script, and you can tell he lived it. You can tell this is like just real life for him. This is
Yeah.
stuff that
I mean, who
probably.
hasn't experienced a little bit of this movie, right?
Yes, absolutely. That's the thing, is it's so
Yeah.
relatable and so fun, and just the cast is great. These characters are, again, just you feel like you know them, because you feel, or you sometimes feel like you are them, in many
Hmm.
cases. So yeah, just a great ensemble here. Beverly D'Angelo, Juliette Lewis, Johnny Galecki. You've of course got Randy Quaid and his probably
Yeah.
most famous role. Brian Doyle Murray, Bill Murray's brother, who's in many of
Yep.
his
The boss.
films. Julia Louis-Dreyfus is in this as well as the neighbor. So just a great cast. All are very well cast. All
Mhm.
play their parts so well. And this is the third film in this franchise, preceded by Vacation and European Vacation.
Yeah.
Um, they would go on to make, of course, Vegas Vacation, and
Yeah.
then they did a recent movie, which I think was just called Vacation, which was about.
Oh, the
Um,
remake with Ed Helms, or not Ed Helms?
yeah, yeah, but wasn't he
Oh,
playing? He was playing the son, right?
I think you're right. Yeah, I watched it
Yeah,
once, but it's been since it came out, so I think that was 2015. Yeah.
yeah. I haven't seen
Um,
that one, but yeah.
right.
So it's an ongoing franchise, and this to me is just the best of all the ones I've seen. I've seen most of them, and this one's
It
by
is.
far my
Yeah.
favorite.
Yeah.
It kind of really changes the formula, which I feel like most film series by the third one you kind of need to do something different.
Right.
And they
Right.
definitely do, because they're not
It's a good
really
way to
on
go.
vacation, they're not going somewhere.
Right. Right.
They're just staying at home for Christmas,
Yeah.
and so the family comes to them, and it's kind
Hmm.
of just about that kind of whole celebrating the holidays with loved ones around you who you kind of can't stand. It's kind of that whole thing, which is just lots of fun. There's so many
Well, and
just.
it's not even can't stand. Sometimes it's just dealing with some of their weirdness and knowing there's no
Exactly.
escape.
Right, right, exactly. You're trapped there together.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's just so many funny things that they do here, from the giant Christmas tree to it catching on fire to the lights on the house. I mean, just it's one thing after another that is just
Yeah. Yeah.
absolutely hilarious. All these ideas they came up with. So yeah, they do a great job again changing up the formula. They do a great job with the lines of dialogue just so quotable. I mean, we quote this movie all year. Me and all of my family, my extended family, we all know it, basically by heart. I mean, every line of dialogue, it seems like. It's one of these that, similar to what I was talking about earlier with A Christmas Story,
Hmm.
sort of can feel like just a series of events, but I
Yeah.
don't mind it because it is
Yeah.
so entertaining. And I feel like it does have a little more focus where we are seeing kind of Clark's journey, his kind of character arc of kind of
Sure.
coming to terms with all this, and discovering what Christmas means to him, that kind of thing. So
Yeah. Yeah.
I think all of that works really well. And so ultimately it had to make the list. It was just determining where it was going to land, and it ended up at number three for a couple of reasons. The top two, I just feel like overall are better movies, technically and in some ways story
Gotcha.
wise as well. But it
Yeah.
definitely had to be on here, so it ended up at number three.
Yeah. I only mentioned a couple things. Randy Quaid, though, he's he wasn't in the second one, but he obviously was in the first one. He played Uncle Eddie,
Right.
and
Yes.
they drive out into like the middle of nowhere to visit him at his home,
Yes.
and some pretty funny stuff happens there
Yeah.
too.
Right.
But this is the one that people have seen the most, I think, by far.
Right. I
Um,
agree.
honestly, 10 probably years ago, this probably would have been number 2 on my list.
Oh,
And it's
okay.
not, yeah, and I didn't mention it in honorable mentions, and I definitely probably should have, because it is a great film. I've seen it so many times I
Yeah.
can't count.
Right.
But the thing is, it's become such a big part of pop culture that
Yeah.
frankly I'm getting kind of sick of it. I've seen it so, like, I'm like you, like I mean,
Yeah.
quote the lines, but I mean, I've been
Right.
doing it for decades now, and it's just
Right.
kind of, it gets a bit old after a while.
Okay. Yeah.
So but honestly, like, to give it a star rating, it's a 4.5-star film, which
Sure.
is
I agree.
probably
Yep.
at least as high as almost everything on my list. So
Right.
that's the only reason it's not there, is that I need a little break from it.
Sure.
I
I hear
think,
you.
almost everywhere you go, you see something, some kind of thing you can buy that
Oh
has
yeah.
something from the movie or Uncle Eddie, and that's great. But
Right.
it's just been a little bit much in the last few years.
Yeah, I hear you. It has exploded. It seemed like it exploded in popularity a few years back, and it just hasn't
Right.
stopped. So yeah, you
Exactly.
can get
Yeah.
all kinds of merch now. Like you couldn't when I was growing up. I didn't see anything like that, but yeah, now it's
Yeah.
just everywhere.
Right. I was telling my wife this. There's something fun about having a movie that you think is great, and you get to tell someone about, and they're like, "Oh, really? That sounds good," and then they go
Yeah.
see it. But then this film has
Right.
been so it's so inundated upon
Right.
our society
Yes.
that I feel like some of the fun is kind of gone, because
Yeah, I
everybody
hear
knows
you.
everything about this film and they've watched it for
Right.
decades now. I don't know.
Exactly. Yeah. No, I hear you. I hear you. I get it. I get it.
Yeah.
All
Good
right.
pick. Good pick though, obviously. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Cool. Thanks. All right. Let's move on to your number two. What do you got?
I'm going with Buddy the Elf,
Oh, great.
shortened title Elf.
Yes.
Yeah. And this is another one that's caught on quite a bit, and I'm
Oh
glad,
yeah.
because this film is tremendous. I think I
Hmm.
saw it at least 2 times, if not three, in the
Okay.
theater, which is
Great.
weird, kind of weird for a Christmas movie, but
Sure, sure.
it was so funny when it first
Yeah.
came out. I just couldn't get enough of it.
Right.
Will Ferrell, I think this is his best performance.
Mm. Yep.
And I love it for the story.
Hmm.
It's a fun story. The acting, the
Yes.
sets are great. Whether
Yes.
it's at the North Pole or the mall where he works at.
Right.
I mean, I mentioned before about like really really Christmassy. I mean, this was another one, like they're really Christmassy sets,
Yes.
like
Yes.
super Christmassy.
Right.
And they're tremendous.
Mm.
And I think we mentioned this maybe in another podcast, but this film has some of the best forced perspective shots
Oh
of
yeah.
any film that I've ever seen.
Definitely.
Maybe the only one better is The Fellowship of the Ring.
Right. Right.
And this one might have more shots than that one does. Well, probably
Maybe.
not. Actually,
Yeah.
probably not. I don't know, but
Probably not.
I love that kind of stuff, and
Hmm.
it's handled so flawlessly and with comedy, which is amazing.
Yes. Right. Right.
And so I love that kind of stuff. There's humor throughout this movie.
Yeah.
There's another one where it's a little bit schmaltzy at the end. Again, it
Sure.
is a Christmas movie, so whatever.
Right.
There's three characters in this movie that Will Ferrell gets to play off of, because he's playing silly but not meaning to be silly, sort of,
Right.
obviously. So he needs some sort of straight men,
Sure.
so to speak, straight people to
Right.
play off of. One of them obviously is James Caan, and
Yes.
he actually passed away earlier this year, I think.
He did. He did. Yep.
And he's so deadpan and
Yep.
so funny in this movie.
Yes.
Bob Newhart is another one. I mean,
Sure. Right.
he's sort of the epitome of deadpan,
Right.
and that works well. And there's so many gags with him where he's like sitting on his lap, and that kind of
Right.
thing. Anyway, it's so great even now.
Yeah.
And then the other one is Peter Dinklage. His
Oh, yeah.
scene in
Of
Phone
course.
Call Even are just
Right.
so memorable. This is probably the film on my list that is most for all ages.
Yeah.
It's got something for children and adults. It warrants many many repeat viewings. This
Mhm.
one hasn't been out as long as Christmas Vacation, so I'm not sick of it yet.
Yeah.
But I just love Elf every time it's on. It's just
Yeah.
tremendous.
It is. It is excellent all the way through. I really enjoy every element of it. The whole cast is great. Zooey Deschanel, and making
Yeah, she's
that
good.
relationship work. What a difficult thing to pull off, but they really do.
Such as like the bathroom scene, which could come
Exactly.
like you had to really nail the tone in that, because
Yes.
that's sort of borderline
Right.
inappropriate. I
Yeah.
mean, it definitely isn't
Right.
inappropriate.
Yeah,
but
it could be
you know what I
creepy.
mean.
Yeah,
Could be
right.
creepy.
Exactly. Exactly. No, they just nail it. And Favreau's so good at
Yeah.
that. And his
Mhm.
background in comedy and in improv really shows there. And yeah,
Yeah.
he went about making a Christmas classic, and he definitely did. Because yeah, every element of that movie just really works. Another one that's very quotable. We quote it all the time.
Yeah, exactly.
And yeah, it's a lot of fun. Great visuals and
Hmm.
great music in there too. And
Yeah, there is some good. The score is very pleasant.
yeah, definitely, definitely.
Yeah.
So yeah, I we thoroughly enjoy that one. It's another one we watch every year. All right, let's move on to my number two, which is The Muppet Christmas Carol.
Oh
We got
yeah.
to
Okay.
talk a little bit about the Muppets last week during our Amy Adams podcast, and they're coming back again. This is easily my favorite adaptation of the Charles Dickens novella
Hmm.
from 1843, A Christmas Carol. This movie was released December 11th, 1992, so the year I was born. This one was released. It's directed by Brian Henson, Jim Henson's son,
Oh.
and it is the fourth Muppet movie, and my favorite of all the Muppet movies. This one is so good on every level. They are able to apply that kind of wry sense of humor that the Muppets are known for with a classic tale of morality, which is just a great combo. I think this is a perfect blend of, that Muppet style humor and comedy and kind of
Hmm.
little bit of like a meta take on the whole thing, but
Yeah.
really stays true to what that original tale is all about. So
Hmm.
it just really works. It's got wonderful music, great songs throughout it.
Oh.
It's great production design, beautiful looking movie. Great character design as well. Some new characters in there. Costumes, the sets. It's just all really really well done. Um, the cast is great. Of course, all the Muppets themselves are played very well, but they usually have a human counterpart in the movies, to really play off of. And in this one,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
Michael Caine, who
Oh.
plays
Okay.
Ebenezer Scrooge.
Hmm.
And I've seen this meme before where it says, you know, uh, Henson Company, let's make a fun Muppet Christmas film. And then under it, it has a picture of Michael Caine, and it says, Michael Caine, I'm about to play this thing as serious as a heart attack. And he
Is that what
really
he
does. I
does?
mean, he
Yeah.
goes all in. I mean, he's
Really.
playing this as if it is some Broadway drama, but it really works. And I think
Nice.
that's what kind of helps it work, is because you do have that very serious, straightforward performance with all the kind of silliness going on around it, that really grounds it and that makes it emotional. I mean, honestly, from what I've seen of Michael Caine, it might be my favorite performance he's ever given.
Wow.
It is stupendous performance on every level. So
Huh.
he really goes all in. It's only 86 minutes long, so
Mhm.
again, not a very long one. It's one the whole family can enjoy. And yeah, we just go on that great journey with Scrooge. Everyone I think at this point knows the story, but his
Yeah.
kind of redemption arc is just perfect. I think it's one of the best ever told. So yeah, just really funny. The writing, the performances are really well done. Very heartfelt, very emotional, and just imaginative too. I like that.
Hmm.
It is its own kind of version of the story that's been told so many times. I think
Yeah.
coming into that with a fresh view is difficult, and they really pull it off here. So
Hmm.
this is one, again, another one we watch every year. It's streaming right now on Disney Plus, so check it out.
I'm gonna check that out. I've never seen it.
Okay,
Actually, the Christmas one at least.
great.
Yeah.
They're actually, I just remembered, they're doing an extended version, which is
Oh.
dropping the 11th on
Hmm.
Disney Plus, which will add, I think, one or two new songs into it.
Yeah.
So you'll have the choice between the theatrical version or the
Okay.
extended cut. I've never seen the extended cut, so I'm curious
Okay.
to watch it. But yeah, that's streaming December 11th.
Yeah, I like the humor of the Muppets, the silliness,
Me
and I told you
too.
before, like Muppets from Space. I mean, it
Oh
just
yeah,
cracks me up every time I watch it. But I'll definitely
right.
check that one out. Yeah.
Great, great. Yeah, I think you'll enjoy it. Well, we are on to our number one picks, our favorite Christmas movies of all time. Bert, Give me your number one.
Well, maybe not a huge surprise, but I'm going with another adaptation of A Christmas Carol in
Yes.
Scrooged.
Yes. Excellent. Great
Yeah,
one.
yeah, and it's what's funny is the film does reference the original Charles Dickens classic a few times, so
Sure. Sure. Right. Yep.
kind of winking at it or at the audience or whatever. Bill Murray plays kind of his sort of cocky, jerky sort of role that he also played in Groundhog Day,
Right.
and he's just super funny when
He
he does
is.
that.
Oh
Plays
man.
obviously a network executive, planning television shows for Christmas Eve and this kind of thing. His sort of sarcastic riffing that he does on everything that's around him and everybody has to encounter. I
Right.
mean, it's just so funny because it's so appalling,
Yeah,
and
definitely.
and the way that people react to that, it really it just really works well. But I think a big reason the film works for me is that you really do kind of feel like he is this guy, this lonely executive,
Mm-hmm.
who we all know people that sort of throw themselves into their work, are
Yep.
kind of married to their work and don't
Sure.
take the time for probably things like Christmas, but definitely
Right.
other things like family can be
Yeah.
a serious problem,
Yeah.
and so
Yeah.
he's pretty believable in
Yep.
that type of role.
Yep.
Karen Allen is really she's really cute here, really adorable.
Yes.
John Glover is a guy, he plays like this smarmy executive that kind
Oh
of
yeah.
wants
Right.
the job of Frank Cross is the character that Bill Murray's playing. So
Right.
he's really funny.
Yeah.
The great Robert Mitchum has a funny
Mm.
part as a sort of a naive network CEO.
Right.
And Bobcat Goldthwait, he has a funny
Yeah.
sort of recurring, kind of a small part, but recurring. He's really great
Right.
too.
He is.
And then I should also note John Murray, who's one of Bill's brothers, plays his brother in the movie.
Right.
Um, and
Yes.
then you mentioned Brian Doyle Murray
Yep.
earlier. He's
Hmm.
he's obviously in this playing his father in the movie.
Yes. Right.
So,
Right.
I laugh all the way through Scrooged
Hmm.
with his, with how rude he is and all that. I want to mention too the music by Elfman right from the opening bars. This score by Elfman
Yep.
it's it sounds kind of haunting, but if you've ever seen the movie, then you know that the silliness that it's about to go right into. So
Right.
it's kind of funny the way that
Exactly.
that is played. And this is just probably my favorite Bill Murray performance.
Hmm.
My favorite Christmas movie. I
Yeah.
watched it so many times. I
Yeah.
mean, that VHS tape had to be worn out in the 90s because I actually saw it on video. I was at a
Mm.
friend's house
Okay.
and I didn't really know anything about it. So I still remember the first time I watched it and I was
Yeah.
just rolling. I mean, it was just so funny.
Yeah.
And so many quotable lines too, me and my
Yes.
buddies in this one.
Right.
So just to me, it's my favorite one. If I had to pick a single one, it's got to be Scrooge. Directed
Yeah.
by Richard Donner, who you mentioned earlier. I didn't say that too, but
Yeah. Yeah. One of his best for sure. Donner, I like seeing his career because he's done so many different types of films.
yeah,
And this is
right,
definitely
right,
unique.
yeah,
So yeah, this one is the only reason I didn't mention it is because I knew you were such a big fan.
yeah,
So I
exactly,
figured it would probably be somewhere in your top five. I'm very
yeah.
happy it landed at number one because yeah, this one is another one I watch every year. Although it's hasn't been that long since the first time I watched it.
Oh, okay,
That not one I grew up on, not one that
yeah,
I've seen, numerous times, but one that when I did see it, I just thought this is genius. This is so good.
mhm.
Production design on this is great.
Yes, yeah,
It's
yeah,
really just great visually.
mhm.
What they do with everything, and when he, goes into the past or anything,
Yeah,
it's just all really visually stimulating. And
yeah,
so very well shot. You of course mentioned Karen Allen. I'm a huge fan of from Raiders of the Lost Ark, and
right.
this is another one of her great roles that she plays so well off of Bill Murray. They're just so
So
opposite.
innocent, yeah, so
Yes,
innocently, yeah,
exactly, exactly. So yeah, the whole supporting cast you mentioned, they all just give such good performances.
yeah, yeah,
That yeah, it's one that yeah has instantly became a tradition after the first time I watched it. Got the Blu-ray right up there, you can see. So yeah, tons of fun. This is one that, yeah, it makes me crack up every time. It's just so funny. Every every gag, every joke lands, it's just so good, so well done. So good. I'm glad that one made it to the list.
Yeah, I gotta say, my favorite scene is probably the restaurant scene, when that sort of smarmy other guy is trying to sort of horn in on Frank's job and that kind of thing,
Right.
and then there's the interaction with the waiter,
Uh-huh.
and then as he's exiting the restaurant, he has that fall, and
Right.
and I've thought about it over the years as I've watched it. I'm not sure he falls on purpose. It looks like he kind of turns his ankle because
Oh.
the floor is wet, and he kind of
Oh.
falls. And I don't think there's a director's commentary or anything. I'd love to know
Yeah.
if that was planned, because if it's
Right.
planned, first of all, it's definitely Bill Murray doing it, and it's not the
Right.
safest fall because you
Right.
could twist your knee or ankle or
Sure.
whatever. And I'm pretty sure it was an accident, and they left it in the film.
It probably was. Yeah. That's kind of stuff happens all the time. Those kind of
Yeah,
happy
yeah,
accidents where it's like, didn't really mean to do that, but hey, it really works, so let's leave it in.
funny for sure.
Definitely. Great pick for your number one. Scrooged. Yeah, that's definitely one that I enjoy. Moving on to my number one pick, not only my favorite Christmas movie, one of my favorite movies of all time. It's A Wonderful Life from
Yeah.
1946. This is Frank Capra's greatest achievement, I think, as a director. He's directed many great films, but this is my favorite. It is based on a 1943 short story called The Greatest Gift by a guy
Oh,
named Philip Van Doren Stern. And it itself was loosely inspired by A Christmas Carol. So it
oh,
has
really?
certain similarities with that story, but it's kind of, its own version of it. Written by Francis Goodrich, Albert Hackett, and Frank Capra himself helped write the
Okay.
script. The cast includes James Stewart, who's one of my favorite actors. He's good in everything I've seen him in. Carol Reed, another great actress from the golden age of movies. Lionel Barrymore, who's a very renowned actor, again from kind of the 30s, 40s era. Thomas Mitchell, Henry Travers, a lot of great actors in there. It's shot by had actually two cinematographers, Joseph Walker and Joseph Byrock. Did a great job shooting it, all in black and white. Just looks beautiful. Do not watch the colorized version, please. It's not how it was intended. It does not look
Ah,
good to me at all.
oh, okay.
Um, the storytelling here is just so purposeful. There's such a clear meaning to the movie, a point they're trying to get across, and it's very very well done. It's all done very well visually, also, and has great music. Composer Dmitri Toymkin did a great job with the entire score. Has a great use of music. Great use of classic Christmas songs, especially in the final sequence of the movie, is very well utilized there. William Hornbeck edited the film, did a great job. It's got a runtime of 2 hours and 11 minutes, so it is on the longer side, but it's never felt long when I've watched it. It always goes by very quickly. It was not a hit when it was released. This
Oh,
was a film with a budget of 3.1 million, and it only grossed 3.3 million.
no
So it,
kidding. Wow.
yeah, it didn't even break even really. It was, the year after the war had ended. I think the country was still kind of recovering from,
Mm,
the horrors of war and all these men
yeah.
returning from World War II, and it was kind of a bleak time. And the movie just was released too soon. I feel like if it had
Mm,
waited a couple years, it would have been a big hit, because in the ensuing years, it became a huge hit. I mean,
yeah, yeah.
it's now hailed as, I mean, it's on AFI's 100 Best Movies list.
Mm,
It
right.
got selected for the National Film Registry. It ends up on all of these best Christmas movies lists that people do, magazines do, or whatever. So over time, it's definitely gained a following, and is now one of the most well-renowned movies ever. The Oscars did give it several nominations. It was nominated for Best
Mm,
Picture, Best Director, Best Actor, Best Editing, and Best Sound. And it actually won a Technical Achievement Award for simulating snowfall on movie sets.
Oh,
So they came up with some new technique for
yeah.
how to make snow look real on camera
Mhm.
on set. It's just a classic in every regard. It is Frank Capra's favorite work that he ever did. He would show it at his home theater every year for his friends, and so
Awesome.
even James Stewart has said that it's his favorite movie that he ever worked on, and
Oh,
he was in hundreds of movies. So
wow.
pretty amazing. It's just a great story about family and friends, and how important and precious life is, and um, it's just really well done on every level. It's very impactful. It has just full of great characters that you really want to root for, and it's one that yeah, I've watched every year since as long as I can remember. So
Hmm.
one that me and my family thoroughly enjoy. Have you seen this
It,
one?
I have not seen it,
Okay,
and I know
that's what I thought.
that's
Yeah.
awful because it's such a classic. Okay,
Yeah.
but here's the reason. I think I have a good reason.
Okay.
Um, when I became aware of this film, um, it was probably in late 80s or sometime in the 90s,
Hmm.
and you'd watch films on television and they look like garbage, and then this
Yeah.
one was black and white, and so I just never got turned on to it.
Right.
But there's no excuse now. I mean, I could probably find a
Sure.
good like 4K streaming copy of it, and I definitely need
Yeah.
to watch it because I'm
Yeah.
aware of. I mean, I know I like the story. I like it's been remade probably a ton of times. Like, isn't did you say The Family Man is a kind of similar plot, and Mr.
Very
Destiny is
similar.
another
Yep.
one that I like.
Sure.
So I mean, I know I'd like the plot. So
Yeah.
I need to visit this one in 4K
Yeah.
or
I
whatever.
actually think it's on Prime right now.
Oh, okay,
So
okay,
I'm pretty sure I saw that it was on there. But yeah, yeah,
all
you
right.
can definitely find it. And they did put out a 4K disc recently, which I saw was
Yeah,
on sale on Amazon. I definitely need to pick that one up and check it out because I heard it looks great. Yeah, definitely check out It's a Wonderful Life if you haven't already. That's my number one.
that's a good pick. Yeah, lots of people consider it one of the best ever for sure for Christmas.
Yep, yep, definitely. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that is it for our top five Christmas movies. Let us know your top five Christmas movies in the comments below. Be sure you hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the bell to get notifications of all our videos. Share this on social media. Everyone's going to be talking about Christmas movies and what they're watching. Make sure you get this out there. Also, check out all our other videos on the channel right now. We've got several playlists. I'm going to be checking out a few more of my collection behind me. The Real Collection playlist is available. You can check out all my Blu-rays there if you're into physical media. Also, be sure to leave a comment. Be sure to come back next time. We're going to be taking a little break, it looks like, for the podcast, but we will be back. So be sure to look out for that. I'll be doing several other reactions to new movies coming out. Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio, I think, comes out soon, so I'll be reviewing that on the channel. Avatar: The Way of Water, of course, is the big one we're all waiting for. We'll be reviewing that as well. So be sure you come back soon, and we'll see you next time right here on The Real World.